Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world. I hope you're all well this morning. I'm saying morning, it's morning for me. My name is Vicky Marie. I am based in Spain, in Europe, and it is 8:23, early in the morning, just on my second coffee and feeling bright and breezy this morning. It's nice and, well, I won't say it's warm, it's 14 degrees, but it's going to be a lovely day. We've got some nice sunny days back now. So always makes you feel better. It's amazing what a difference a little bit of warm weather, a little bit of sun can do to not only your mental health, but the way you feel physically, isn't it? We all need a bit of sun, don't we? Okay, now then, in this video, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about this very sad news that the American student, Jimmy, who was on spring break in Spain, here in Spain, in Barcelona. I'm going to talk about that case. He's very sadly, he was reported missing because he didn't go back to his Airbnb. And sadly, a body has been recovered, and it is Jimmy. So we're going to talk about that anyway. And my heart just goes out to his family, what they must be going through, just awful. Then we're going to have a look at the Nancy Guthrie case, any updates. Now, there aren't really any updates, so I may as well just tell you that now. But we are going to talk about some other things around the case. We're going to talk about, what do you think? Do you think it is on the verge of being solved? Do you think this sort of silence from the law enforcement and from the FBI means that they are getting somewhere, or do you think it means they're getting absolutely nowhere and they're no further on than they were nearly 50 days ago when Nancy first went missing? The other things we're going to talk about in that case are this attention, unwanted attention, that's resting on Sheriff Nanos, the Pima County Sheriff, who, I don't think he's going to survive this case, to be honest. I think it's going to, if nothing else comes out of this case, it's probably going to bring about his downfall. But we're going to talk about that anyway. What do you think about it? Do you think it's fair, the things that are being said about him, or do you think he's maligned, that maybe people should give him a break? And the other thing we're going to talk about in that case, which is, again, not really things, there's so little news about the actual case itself. We're going to talk about some accusations that are coming out about JLR. Now, JLR is another podcaster who, we've followed his live streams. I know a lot of you out there, you like to watch him, anyway, not just if I mention him. JLR is really, his channel is very, very successful. He's got a lot of subscribers. He has a lot of viewers. Sometimes he was on, like, I think there was one time I watched his live stream, Nancy. I'm sure there was 50,000 people on the live stream. He's been successful, and he works hard. He does long streams. Well, there's some, I'd say they're rumors, but I don't know that they are rumors because they are backed up with information that maybe JLR is not the nice person that we think he is. We know that he's got a checkered past. He's always been open about his past, and everybody deserves a second chance. He went to prison, he did his time for wire fraud and things like that. But now there's some very distant allegations have come out about JLR. Now, there's a lot of jealousy in podcasting. I've noticed that as soon as you get successful, no one's jealous of you when you're only a tiny little channel, but as soon as you get successful, the daggers go out a little bit for people, and people can get into vendettas, and that's why I try and stay out of all of that kind of thing. I don't like to But I feel with this, I've hummed and hawed whether to even mention this, but because it involves a violence against a woman, I feel that I've got to mention it. And also, I think because JLR himself is not commenting on it at all, despite the fact that people are telling him about it, inviting him, asking him, is it true? He's just blanking it all. Just makes you think, well, there's two reasons he might be doing that. Might be because it's a load of rubbish and he just doesn't want to comment on it because he doesn't want to bring it up. But the thing is, there is paperwork. There is paperwork to prove it. Anyway, we're going to talk very briefly about that because to me, if this is true, if it's true, and I don't know 100% that it's true, I have to mention it because part of the might totally extend by they're true. A lot of people have taken them seriously. Apparently, he's lost followers, which you will do. So these are the talk about. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for your support. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you. Special thank you to my members. Special thank you to those of you who buy stickers. Good to see you. You're working really well. Hi to Replay crew. Thank you so much for watching. And we are glued still to this Nancy Guthrie case, particularly, aren't we? That we're going to look at, because Nancy, it's been nearly 50 days and she still has not been found. Anyway, we're going to talk about that next. I'll just see if is anybody here with us in the chat. Hey, Tracy. Hi, Mark. Yeah, now I don't know if you're JLR watchers, but have you heard about these rumours? But anyway, we're going to talk about that next. First of all, we're going to talk about this poor guy, Jimmy, and his poor family. Now, I was going to talk about this yesterday, and then my internet went all strange. I was in the middle of a live where I was, going to talk about Jimmy's case, because at the time he was still missing in Barcelona. But very sadly, and it's sad that he's been found deceased, but I'm glad, as far as his family is concerned, he has been found. People go into the sea. There's a video about him on my channel. The guy made accusations against a lot of people in the entertainment business. He went missing in Barcelona and was never found. His body's never been found. People said they'd seen him in the sea, into the sea voluntarily. Was it even him? He was never found. He's still not been found. His family don't know. So although it's horrible that Jimmy is deceased, I do, you tell me what you think. That his family have got some resolution. They know what's happened to him. So this is a 20-year-old college student. So this, again, I wanted to talk about this because it's one of those. I mean, technically, it's not true crime because the Mossos, the Spanish police, the Catalonian police. So we have to remember that Barcelona is in Catalonia. We're going to have a look in a minute exactly where it is. And although it is, of course, part of Spain, the Catalonians think of themselves as a completely different entity to the rest of Spain. There's a lot of people from Barcelona, which is the capital of Catalonia, if you like, and they feel that they are the capital of Spain, really, not Madrid. They would like to be separate completely from Spain and be a completely different country. So they speak Catalonian, and the police, they call them the Mossos. I can't speak Catalonian. I know some of it is very similar to Spanish, so you can understand a lot of what they're saying, but I won't be able to put a sentence together in Catalonian, that's for sure. Catalan, I should say, in Catalan. Couldn't put a sentence together in Catalan, but you can understand a lot of it because it's very similar to Spanish. And it's a very interesting place because if you go to Barcelona, all the street names, the supermarkets, the products, etc., they're all in Catalan. It's very proud of its language, a bit like Wales and Welsh. Like everyone speaks English, of course, in Wales, but a lot of people like speaking Welsh because that's, as far as they're concerned, they're proud Welsh people, and that is, but different parts of Wales speak, some parts of Wales don't speak any Welsh, same really, I suppose. Though I think most people now would speak Catalan and Spanish, and they would consider Catalan their first language and Spanish, Castellano, as their second language. So that is so we have to bear in mind that Barcelona is, in many ways, considers itself a different country, except when it comes to football, of course, because I think football in Spain has done a lot to unite Spain, because a lot of the Spanish football team come from Barcelona. Barcelona and Real Madrid are the biggest football teams in Spain, and they win most of the trophies, or they used to. I mean, now there are other teams that seem to do well as well. But there was a time when really every year La Liga would be won by either Barcelona or Real Madrid. There wasn't anybody else ever had a chance, really. But it has got better in that sense now. So I know I'm waffling a little bit, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background to Barcelona. It's a fantastic place. To me personally, I prefer Barcelona to Madrid. It's it's a very vibrant city. I don't know. It's got. I found Madrid. It's an interesting city to go to, obviously, but it's a capital city that's a bit grey and grim. That's the only way I can describe it. It's, to me, when I went to Madrid, it was nice, but it felt, where you go to Barcelona, it feels more vibrant. It's hard to explain. Like there's more character there, just has a different feeling for me than Madrid. I found Madrid a bit grey and serious, and I don't know, maybe it's the time of year I went, maybe it's who I went with. Barcelona, of course, because it's nearer the north of Spain, it's a lot greener. Madrid is like on a plateau right in the centre of Spain, whereas Barcelona, it just felt more greener. I don't know, prettier. Of course, it's on the sea, so it's got that for it. I don't know. Just felt to me like it had a lot more character. So I definitely recommend people to go to Barcelona. Let's have a look at where it is. Where it is in comparison to Spain. Of course, it's a popular holiday destination. A lot of the cruise ships stop there, or at least they used to. Because the problem that you do have in Barcelona, and I'm sure this was a concern in the beginning, is there's a lot of crime. But just like any big city, I suppose. But I do feel in Barcelona, there's a particularly large amount of crime. A lot of pickpockets along Las Ramblas is the famous place in Barcelona, isn't it? Las Ramblas, where you've got to go and see all the market stalls and this, that, and the other. But there's a lot of pickpocketing, a lot of they're organised gangs, and a lot of cruise ships won't stop in Barcelona anymore. The cruise ships would stop there and they'd give someone a day in Barcelona. A lot of them won't stop anymore because there were so many robberies. So Barcelona is right up here in the north. It's practically on the border, isn't it, to Andorra? When I've driven to the UK, so I'm in the south down here, right down here, and when you drive up, you know, if you drive into the UK and you're doing the long drive through France, you know, you would go virtually past Barcelona. Obviously, you try and avoid going into Barcelona because it's a busy place, but you would go, you know, right along this motorway and then over the border at Girona. It's a beautiful drive actually until you get into France, which I think France is quite boring actually. It all looks the same. But Spain's a very interesting terrain and you go through the mountains um, to cross the border, you know, on your way to the UK. So there's Barcelona there. So I have visited Barcelona. I had a friend in Barcelona many years ago. I wouldn't call him a boyfriend, but it was a friend with benefits, I suppose you would say. And I did go and visit him in there in Barcelona. And I think that is so good when you go to these kind of places, big cities, isn't it? When you know somebody, when somebody takes you around. Because the problem is, you would go to Barcelona as a tourist, as probably Jimmy did, and most and people do. You go as a tourist and you go to the tourist places because you don't know anywhere else. Whereas if you go and visit a place and you know somebody from that area, they know the different places for you to go to. Because most capital cities, and I'd say, although Barcelona's technically not a capital city, though it is the capital of Catalonia, um, you wouldn't have a clue, would you, where to go? If I just rolled up in London tomorrow, or you know, I've been to Madrid quite a few times, so I do know it a little bit better now. But you'd go to any capital city, and you wouldn't know sort of the places that are dangerous or the places, you know, where you can avoid like the tourist restaurants and things, and get so you're not paying the earth for a meal or whatever. So when you go and stay with someone who lives there, who does know that area, you've got the advantage, haven't you, of getting that there's somebody there to show you around and take you around all the places, and yeah, it's great. You get a better insight, don't you? Anyway, I was only there for a couple of days, but it was lovely. I loved every minute of it. And one thing I do remember is when we were on the tube, we took the because it's not worth driving from. You know, we lived. My friend, he lived on the outskirts, and you get the tube into the centre because you can't drive. Well, you can drive in there, but like any capital city, then you've got park, haven't you, etc. So you get the tube in, and when we were on the tube or the metro, as they call it in Spain, at one point, I mean, I was oblivious, but apparently the metro, and I know this as well, I know that this is true because I've had students who've gone to Barcelona and Madrid, and on the metro, you've got to be so careful. You've really got to have your wits about you because that's where the pickpockets strike. You know, you're quite, if you're on a busy train and you're all jostled up against each other, you know, you've really got to be careful or you'll lose everything. You know, I had a student who literally they took everything, they didn't even notice till they got off the metro. Anyway, we were on the metro, and and then my friend, he just sort of I don't know, he sort of like got hold of my shoulders and sort of shoved me around like that, and then we got off the train, off the metro, and he said to me, "Did you notice those that group of people gathering around you?" So obviously, stick out like a sore thumb as a foreigner. You know, I mean, not so much maybe now that I've got my hair darker. But when I was blonde, especially, you know, it's obvious that I'm not Spanish. So they just think, oh, well, there's a tourist. Tourists have got money with them normally, or you know, things. Anyway, he said he noticed. So there were about 3 or 4 people because this is what they do. The working gangs, they all gather around you. One of them distracts you somehow, and while that you're just looking around, that's it. They're in your bag or whatever. No matter if you've got a bum bag, you know, a fanny pack, as they call it in America. I know people that literally cannot believe that somebody has actually been in. You know, they've got their bum bag like at the front there, and somebody has been in there, unzipped it. I mean, these are professionals. These are professional gangs. So that's something you do have to be careful about in Barcelona. I know you have to be careful about it everywhere, but Barcelona really is notorious for that. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, this poor lad, he was on spring break. So this guy, he's from Alabama in the USA, Jimmy, and he was on spring break with his mates. It reminded me so much of the Riley Strain case. This, I mean, thankfully, Jimmy was recovered before it went on as long as the Riley Strain case did. But yeah, young men that disappear after they've been drinking and what have you near water. Probably it's not thought to be, as far as the police are concerned, it's not thought to be any foul play involved. That's what they say. Even though he was seen leaving the nightclub he was in with somebody else, but this is what they're saying. I'm just repeating what the authorities are saying. I don't know if there was any foul play or not, but sadly, he is deceased. He has been found in the water and recovered. And we're going to look at a couple of articles. I'm going to look at a Spanish article and an English speaking article. So yeah, so sadly, this is something that happens, isn't it? When young people, they go out drinking, and if they're near water, it's like, I don't know, it's almost like the water sort of drags them in. I don't know, it's like a magnet, isn't it? It happens so many times. Um, you know, and there's no thought that he, you know, did it himself, like that it was a self-deletion type thing. Probably fell, and maybe he went to, I think quite often what they do is they go to have, you know, to relieve themselves and maybe fall into the water because they're unsteady on their feet because they've been drinking or whatever, or taking substances, or these days it's likely a combination of the two. So many accidents happen to young people when they've been out drinking with their friends, etc., don't they? So it seems like this is perhaps what happened with Jimmy, but I'm just saying what the authorities say. The family don't seem to think there's anything more to it. But my heart breaks for his family, because bad enough, you know, for your child, your adult child, to go missing, then to have to go over the other side of the world, if you like. And maybe that's a bit dramatic, but to another foreign country with a foreign language, who don't, you know, who are don't speak your language, you need interpreters, you've got to try and, you know, the Mossos or the Guardia Civil, Policia Nacional, or whichever police force they're having to deal with, they operate differently than in America. So, you know, there's not so much transparency. They're quite secretive about things, though I'm sure they're not being secretive with the family. Hi, my angel. And yeah, my heart just breaks for him. And then to find, you know, imagine getting that phone call and it's like, oh, what it would be like, oh, Jimmy didn't come home last night. We're a bit worried about him. You know, we're going to have to report him missing. And then apparently his dad got on a plane. So, you know, it's not like just go up the road, get on an aeroplane and go there and then deal with them. I hope they got help from the embassy or that will. But let's have a look at this Spanish article that I found. I want to show that, which I'll obviously translate. I'm going to turn that down now. So it's been big news in Spain as well. You know, it was being followed in the Spanish news right from the beginning, really, when he went missing. So you know, they do care about foreigners who go missing. So says possible accidents, but of course it hasn't been established yet. I just want to make it clear. The reason why Jimmy was in that water has not been established yet. But they are saying they don't think there's any suspicious circumstances. So in this article, it says possibly accidente, possible accident. Hallado en el mar el cadáver de Jimmy Gracey, el estadounidense, oh gosh, it's a right mouthful, Americano, I'm going to say, desaparecido en Barcelona. So, found in the sea, the body of Jimmy Gracey, the American, disappeared in Barcelona. So it says they searched the area that Los Mossos durante casi 48 horas. Los Mossos han rastreado la zona. So basically, for 48 hours, the police searched the area and they have found a body on the beach, it says. It doesn't say in the sea, it says en la playa del Somorrostro. I don't know I've never been to the beach in Barcelona. That's something I've never done. I only went into the centre. So they found a beach. It says either on the beach or in the beach. The N is a little bit, you know, you can interpret it different ways. So he disappeared after a night in Villa Olímpica. So that, I think that is like what's the word I'm looking for? You know, an area of lots of clubs and pubs, etc. So let's have a look at this video. Them bringing Jimmy out of the water. If it plays, of course, sometimes when I try and play a video, computer doesn't like it. It's all gone blank. It's every time when I try and play a video, isn't it? Just the video. Oh, is it working? No, it's all gone black. Doesn't like it. Oh, no, it's back, but it's when I start to play the video. No, it doesn't like it. Try one more time. Oh, there you go. Now I should be back now. I'm hoping I'm back now. Just went off completely. Every time I try and play a video, isn't it? It goes. It's driving me absolutely crazy. Can you hear me now? Please tell me if you can hear me now. You should be able to hear me now. I'm not going to try and play any more videos because that just doesn't like it. Don't know why. This stupid computer. So I'm still not at a point where I can buy a new one, unfortunately. Thank you to all those of you who've donated, but I'm still quite away from the target. But thank you for those of you who have donated. So yeah, it's a breakwater apparently. So it was found in a breakwater near to the Somorrostro beach, and the investigation is centered around the official identification of the body. Well, he has been identified now, and also they're looking into the reason for his falling into the sea. But the first hypothesis is that he drowned, but of course it has to be confirmed by the autopsy. And yeah, so they found him. It said somewhere. Yes, so sources close to the investigation have said that a witness said that they had seen the young person walking towards the sea, but at the moment they are discounting a crime. They're discounting a crime. In this moment, they're discounting a crime. So, of course, it would depend. A lot will depend on the autopsy. You know, if there's any evidence of any violence against him. They had found his phone and his wallet was found floating, wasn't it? Apparently. So, yeah, Jimmy sadly, not sad that he's been found, but I think you know what I mean. Sadly, he has not been found alive. And now his family, I presume his family identified him because he's been identified quite quickly. But anyway, so at the moment it's not been treated as a crime. I'll let you know if there's any developments with that. But you know, this again, it comes back to the sort of moral of the story is, and it's I know there won't be 20-year-olds probably watching my videos, but you know, it's always worth that conversation with your adult children or grandchildren or whatever. Just to avoid water when you're out drinking. You know, it's like, don't go near the water because I think it's so easy to fall in. I mean, how many times do people fall when they've had too much to drink? You know, we saw that video of Riley Strain who was running, banged into something else. And then, of course, but if you're falling on the road, that's bad enough. I mean, you can hurt yourself. But if you're actually falling into water, you know, that it's harder to save yourself and get out of the water, isn't it, when you've been drinking, etc. Especially if the water's cold, and it will have been cold. It might be Spain, but it's cold at the moment, and it's even colder in the north. So that water will have been freezing. It won't have been warm water, you know. Like in the summer, you'd have more of a chance because the water is warmer. So, very sad. So, poor Jimmy, but prayers especially going out to his family. I hope they're coping okay. I don't know how you cope with that. Now, his family have released a statement, which actually I might read out because it's very sweet. Oh, and he was, Jimmy is also, his uncle is a CNN senior producer. Let's have a look at this article, actually. I'm not going to try and put a video on because it just doesn't work. Oh, God, this tour is driving me absolutely bonkers. So this was another. This article is in English. Just check that it's sharing. You should be able to see and hear okay now, so should be fine now. So yeah, body of American college student found in water off Barcelona beach was ID'd as Jimmy Gracey, nephew of CNN producer. Another young life, 20 years old on spring break with his friends. These spring breaks seem to always bring about tragedies, don't they? Now, this is what his family said. In a statement, Jimmy's family said today, "We are so grateful for the kindness and concern that has been shown for our family during this incredibly difficult time. We've made the decision to pause media interviews at this time to focus on being together and caring for one another." Very sad. So, yeah, because they had obviously been doing some appeals, to find him, and now he's been found. I'm sure they will come on and do an interview at some point in the future. But at the moment, they're just trying to come to terms with it, aren't they? And quite often, families, will come out afterwards and talk because they don't want, they'll try and warn. I think it's difficult to warn 20-year-olds, I think, because 20-year-olds, they just never think anything can happen to them. But all you can do is tell them what you can tell them, hope that they take some of it on board, that the next time they're out with their friends and they get drunk. The other thing is they should all stick together. People end up separating, don't they? And it's always when people get separated that things go wrong, isn't it? That's what happens. So yeah, very sad to end him, but I am glad that at least they'll be able to take Jimmy home. Now, funnily enough, just in my own family, I found something out. So I'm not going to name any names or say who it was, but one of my family members, that their young adult, if you like, was involved in an accident in Thailand, and he's very lucky to be alive, and he's in hospital there in Thailand with quite severe injuries, but he's alive and will be okay, it looks like. But who knows how long it'll take them to recover, and they've got to try and repatriate him. Luckily, he had insurance. That's something else that's important, isn't it? I think a lot of us, myself included, we don't think travel insurance is important, do we? But when you get in a situation like that, because this particular person that I'm telling you about over there in the medical costs so far have been £35,000. Luckily, he had insurance, so the insurance is looking after everything, and the insurance will help to bring him home when he's well enough to go home to the UK. But there's also problems at the moment because of the war. It was difficult. His dad flew out there, to be with him and everything. But it was four flights he had to get. Took him hours and hours and hours, days to get there because of all the problems with the war, etc. So yeah, these are all things to take into account. Personally, for me, I think Spain is going to benefit, and the rest of Europe, in a tourism way from this war, because if no one's going to want to go to Dubai or Thailand. I wouldn't go any distance at the moment while there's wars going on left, right, and centre, because the thing is, even if you get there, okay, you don't know if you're going to be able to get back, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, with all this uncertainty in the world, thanks to the big orange one in the White House. So, yeah, it's a good, I think, as far as, Brits are concerned, or, don't travel too far from home. That would be my recommendation, that's for sure. not at the moment where everything's so uncertain. So I think there'll be quite a lot of people who maybe had a holiday plan to go to Dubai or somewhere like that won't be doing that now. I think Spain will probably benefit from that as far as the tourist economy is concerned. But then, of course, maybe there'll be people from America that won't come to Spain because of the war, and that's, so I suppose maybe it swings and roundabouts. It's all this instability in the world. It's horrible, isn't it? But and then when something happens, like has happened to this family member of mine, gets in an accident in Thailand. It's a similar situation, isn't it? Thing is, when you're that far from home, it's just been awful, like, for the worry of it and trying to get there, be with them. But, and now it's trying to get back to the UK. So luckily, because he had travel insurance, so I think what I'm trying to say is travel insurance is really important, especially if you're going far away. I mean, maybe it's not so important if you're just going close by, but it costs a lot of money. But certainly, if you're going a distance, you need travel insurance just for this sort of case. If you're an accident abroad, there would be somebody would have had to be fined £35,000 for this boy's treatment in a hospital after his motorcycle accident, if there wasn't insurance. But also the insurance takes care of a lot of things. It's put his dad up in a hotel, those kind of things. So very important to get travel insurance, isn't it? Okay, let's look at Nancy now. And whoa, what this case? Oh my God, Nancy! It's like I am sort of at a point where I am thinking, is this ever going to get solved? I sort of go, whenever I think about Nancy's case, let's put a picture of Nancy up. Through a day, I mean, God knows how our family are feeling, because this is just me and I didn't know Nancy. But one day I go from the despair of thinking, you go through this sort of, yes, it's going to be solved. I'm sure the FBI knows something. And then you think, oh no, I don't think it's going to be solved. They don't seem to know anything. They're not getting anywhere. You're going in this, it is like a roller coaster. People quite often describe it as a roller coaster. And of course it is a roller coaster, isn't it? Because one minute you're convinced it's all going to break any minute, the case is going to break, and then there's going to be a suspect arrested and Nancy's going to be found one way or another. And then you go into this, oh God, no, they don't know anything. She's never going to be found, and that's just me. And I'm just a podcaster. I'm not actually, I didn't know Nancy personally, but we've all got so invested in this case. I think this case really has touched all of us for various reasons. This is sort of everybody's mum, everybody's grandma, just sleeping in her bed at night, plucked from her bed in the dead of night, blood everywhere. And we don't know anything. 50 days, nearly 50 days. I think today might be day 48, 49 or something like that. Feels like day 4060. Feels like it's been going on forever. And we still don't know anymore, or we don't. So we can only hope that the FBI, law enforcement, etc., that they know a lot more than we do, because we know nothing. So let's hope that, now apparently, so the FBI apparently have been back in the area, back interviewing neighbours again. They're asking for specific dates. It's dates before the actual event of Nancy being kidnapped. It was February. Was it February the 1st or something? She disappeared. So, yeah, a long time ago. And they're asking about also, you know, some people say, why are they keep going back asking? Sometimes they're asking the same questions. You know, do you have any? I suppose they're asking for door cam and blah 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 blah, or if anybody knows anything more than time that they went there. They're also apparently been asking about construction workers in the area, um, suspicious vehicles in the area. They seem to have seen, you know, they've focused in on one vehicle, but nothing official really has been released. So, you know, what does that mean? Does that mean they know nothing? And so they keep going back because they're just checking they haven't missed anything? Or does that mean that they've got their suspicions and they're keep going back to confirm things so that the next time that they lift anyone in a SWAT operation, they're sure it is the right person? You know, have they got a suspect in sights, but they're just not telling us about it? And I still stick by what I've thought right from the beginning. I do not think this is a burglary gone wrong. I think they specifically went there for Nancy to take her away. Why, I don't know. That I don't know, obviously. If I knew that, then the case would be solved. But I don't feel it's a burglary gone wrong. I think they would have just left Nancy there. If they would have broken in, first of all, I don't think they would have broken in the first place while she was there. They would have gone in there when she went off to Tommaso and Annie's for the dinner and the games night. That's when they would have gone into the house. Or on a Sunday morning when Nancy always went over to her friends to watch the church service. And they, you know, it wouldn't take much, would it, just watching Nancy's routines to find out when she wasn't in the house. Why go in there when she's in the house? Is because they were targeting, they wanted Nancy to do some harm to her. That's what I think. I do think they went in there to harm Nancy, and they went prepared to take her away. You know, you don't just do that. Just take a body away. Even, you know, experienced serial killers, they didn't do that. They would leave their bodies in their victims' bodies in the homes. Like I've said before, Dennis Rader, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, all these people, they never took their bodies away, the bodies of their victims away. Why would they do that? Hi, Julie. Hi, Tracy. Yeah, I do think it's someone she knows. Maybe not necessarily, I'm not saying the family. It's somebody who she knows or knows her or knows of her. It might be someone she's only met once. Might be someone, literally an electrician that she's had around to do something in the house. Or not necessarily even that person, but someone they've spoken to. So I think it's somebody local. This is just my opinion. It is my opinion. I know other people have got different views, you know, and Mexico coming into it. Now, I don't think it's anything to do with Mexico. I think it's to do with somebody very close around Nancy, very close, sort of within an hour anyway, of Nancy. And even that, I think probably more within half an hour of Nancy. And I think they knew her, or at least, even if she might not even know them. You know what it's like sometimes. Trying to think of an example. You know, you know people like acquaintances or people in the periphery, and it may only be you've been round someone's house and that person has been there, and you meet them. Oh, this is such and such. He's my, I don't know, he does my palm trees or sorts my garden out for me, or and you, oh, hi, and that. And then see, the thing is, you don't know what conversation goes on after that, do you? So it's like if somebody started, said many times in these videos, loose lips cost lives. Somebody just chatting it. So it could be Nancy's manicurist. I mean, I'd be interested to know, does she have a pediatrician, a pedicure? You know, quite often elderly people have pedicures. They have somebody comes, a chiropodist comes to the house, for example. So let's take that as an example. Does she have a chiropodist come to the house, do her feet? Is that chiropodist then one day been chatting to somebody else and say, oh yeah, I was round Nancy's today, or oh, you know whose feet I did today, or whose nails I did today? It was Nancy Guthrie, and her daughter is Savannah Guthrie, and you know, it'd be like, because I didn't know about Savannah Guthrie before because I'm not American, but I suppose for me, a newscaster that you might know in the UK, you know, you might know Fiona Bruce or Susanna Reid or any of the main newscasters, news anchors. And if it was their mum, you know, like if I was out chatting to someone and they were, oh, guess whose house I did a pedicure at today? It was Susanna Reid's mum, and she lives just up the road, and she lives on her own. Oh, I couldn't believe she lived on her own. It seems like a big sprawling house for an old lady like that on her own with a heart problem. Who knows? So it's not necessarily. I do think that Nancy knows, or they know her, or she knows them. There's a reason why they've taken Nancy. Maybe they were angry with her about something. Maybe they were angry with Savannah. But do you know what? I don't think they were. And do you know why I don't think it's to do with Savannah? Is because I know they've made Savannah suffer in it, but why? Somebody who did that, they would want Savannah to know that they'd done it. You know, if they wanted to hurt Savannah, they in particular, I think they would have targeted Savannah more with the, well, the ransom notes are a load of rubbish, in my opinion. I don't think they're anything to do with it. But that, again, I think that's it. Savannah would have got some notes or messages or some sort of, you know, they would have made it clear to Savannah that they'd taken her mum and they hope she's suffering because of it. That's my opinion. And they haven't done that. So I'm not sure that it is to do with Savannah. I'm not sure. I have no clue what the motive is. That's the problem. I think she was targeted. I think they went there to take her. I think they went prepared to take her away for whatever reason. Maybe it was for a ransom initially, and maybe Nancy died while they were taking her, because that would have been pretty much a shock, wouldn't it? For an old lady who's got a problem already with her heart. Maybe, you know, that wasn't in the plan, you know, that she would die. You know, why has there been no ransom note, or why? You know, it's just, there's nothing in this case makes sense. You can see why people were sort of keen, if you like, to think of Tommaso, because Tommaso, it makes more sense if it was Tommaso or Annie or any of the family, because it's normally family reasons that these sort of things happen. You know, like when the police are looking for a motive, it's more logical for it to be a financial motive or some kind of motive, isn't it? So that's why people still won't let go of Tommaso as a suspect, even though he's been cleared, because it makes more sense for it to be Tommaso. And when things don't make sense, we don't like it, do we? Because we can't make any sense of this case. You know, if she'd had a load of jewellery taken, yeah, the thing is, that's it. Maybe Nancy did have jewellery lying around. Maybe a family. Thing is, this is Nancy's house, and we haven't got Nancy to ask. So how do we know that nothing's been taken? Maybe she had jewellery lying around, and that's what somebody mentioned to someone. Oh, this lady, she leaves money lying around, or she leaves jewellery everywhere. But then what, again, that comes down to, why did they take her? Why didn't they just take the jewellery? You know, you don't take. I was listening to I think it was Brian Enton this morning. He was interviewing an ex FBI. You know, with all the ex FBI and ex law enforcement are all coming out the woodwork, aren't they, to weigh in with their opinions, which of course are valid opinions because they've got experience in these kind of things. But he was saying, you know, you would, well, as soon as you take a body with you or a person with you, you're elevating your risk, you know. So it's risky. So you're talking about going from a burglary, which of course is a serious crime, but it's not that serious, is it? If you get caught breaking and entering someone's house, you're not going to get life without parole, are you? You know, it's like you're going to get maybe a stiff sentence, especially if you've got previous. But nothing like what you're going to get for kidnapping someone or murdering someone. So that doesn't normally happen. People don't, certainly deliberately, don't elevate their risk, their crime, and their crime, you know, the consequences that they're going to get voluntarily. So he said what I've been saying. You know, if a burglar goes wrong, and they do go wrong, sometimes, you know, people do break into houses when people are there. But normally the burglar then will, and if somebody wakes up, be it an old lady or whoever it is, they will just leg it. The burglars, they don't want to get into an altercation with an old lady even. They don't want to, you know, commit a further crime and elevate their crime unless they've done that kind of thing before. And so, you know, maybe they're sort of callous anyway, and maybe they have killed people before in burglaries. But anyway, they certainly won't take the body with them though, because getting that body outside, now maybe there were more than one person involved. It seems like there was a car waiting at the end of the drive, doesn't it? Because that blood dripped up the path. It stopped at the end of the path. That makes you think there must have been maybe a vehicle there. And then they put Nancy in the vehicle. And that's why there's no more blood after that. Bless her. Just looking at her little face, I just think, oh God, what did this woman go through? Yeah, so definitely, in my opinion anyway, I think I can't get away from the fact they meant to take her with them, because I don't think so. What this guy was saying, so they were in there for 40 minutes, so they had, that's quite a long time, isn't it? What were they doing in that 40 minutes? Maybe they were having a dialogue with Nancy, it was all going wrong. I don't know what they were doing. I dread to think what they were doing. It's just heartbreaking to think what Nancy went through if she was awake and conscious for those 40 minutes, knowing what was happening. Or were they, you know, sorry to say it, but were they getting did they kill her immediately when they went in there, and then it took them 40 minutes to get her into something to take her out? You know, we don't know. We don't know what this 40 minutes is about, do we? So what this guy was saying is, you imagine, like, so you go in, if you take the theory that it was a burglary, so you go in, you know, there's an old lady in there who's not going to be much of a problem, even if she does wake up. Now, maybe Nancy was awake. Maybe she was going to the, you know, I don't know about you, but I rarely go through a whole night without getting up once to go to the loo or whatever. So, and I'm not 84, so maybe she was up and about. Maybe she couldn't sleep. Maybe she was, she was apparently in a bed. They've all said that she was actually in bed, but she might have been watching the telly in bed. So they've gone in. So he said, yeah, imagine, he said, someone's there to, if you take the theory or the, what did he call it? What do they call it? Hypothesis. If you take the hypothesis that it was a burglary, so they go in, she's awake or she wakes up or something goes wrong. He says suddenly they've only got a few minutes to make a decision as well. So, and his theory was that when you get stressed, could you imagine what your stress level would be if suddenly someone's woke up and you're in robbing their house? He said when people are under stress, they don't make good decisions. So, suddenly it'd be like, oh God, what do I do now? Then maybe let's suppose he shot her, because of course he did have a gun. Why did he have a gun? Carrying it like that. So let's suppose he shot her. Then he's got to think, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, he's not going to think. Why would he think, oh, I'm going to take her away? Why? There's just no reason to, unless he thinks she's got some DNA on her or whatever. But it's probably, there'll be DNA in that room, I think. Most definitely there'll be some DNA, and they said there is, and I think they'll get to the bottom of the DNA, but it just will take time. So yeah, he said, imagine this person, they're panicking because they're now their offence level has raised from robbery to now may possibly murder or definitely assault against a person. And then are they really going to take her away and then even elevate that crime even more? Kidnapping. Kidnapping is a very serious crime, just as serious as murder in lots of ways. So even if she was still alive, why would they do that? Why would a burglar? People tend to stay in their lane, don't they? Especially as they get older. I mean, there are sort of, your prospective serial killers that start off maybe with breaking and entering, and then lead up to maybe sex offences or murders, etc. But by the time, that's normally sort of when they're starting off in their sort of crime careers, isn't it? If somebody's into their 30s, which this guy looks like, late 20s, early 30s, they've normally got their, I don't know, whatever it is they do by then. Are they burglars, or are they serial killers, or are they serial RAPISTSs? Fancy elevating. They don't normally elevate at that later age from, being a burglar to being a murderer or a kidnapper. You're looking at life imprisonment now. So let's take that. So let's suppose that is what happened. They panicked and then they thought, oh yeah, bring the car around. Let's take this woman and hide her somewhere. They're going to go off in a car. No, it was the middle of the night and there's not many people around. But there are, you just don't know if you're going to get seen taking her out to the car or driving her. Everybody knows about CCTV these days, door cams, etc. How could you be 100% certain nobody would see you in that moment? I don't know. It just thought it's all weird. This case is all weird. To me, the only way it makes sense is if they meant to take Nancy away. But I don't know why they would do that. Why, then that's why it always comes back to the family or somebody who would benefit from Nancy being taken away. Who would benefit? People do things for a reason. They don't just do them arbitrary. Nobody just breaks in and kidnaps an 84-year-old woman just for the fun of it. It's like they've done it for a reason, but who knows what that reason is. So as far as the case is concerned, apart from the FBI, etc., going over things, asking people for certain dates if they saw it, they do seem to be focusing in on certain dates and that. We have to hope that, they are on the verge of finding someone. But apart from that, what of course is going on is this thing about Sheriff Nanos. Let's have a look at him. The hapless Sheriff Nanos, deputy dog. You run out of words for Sheriff Nanos, really, because, he's just been a disaster from the start, hasn't he? But maybe he's quite a good, at least I suppose, while people are talking about him and how useless he is, the FBI can get on with the proper work of finding out who did it. So he's apparently got, what's it? Where's that article that I found? Let me put a few windows down. I think it's a 94% disapproval rating. Of course, I've lost the article that I was looking at. So he's at the gym every 5 minutes, at the basketball game. He just I know people are concentrating on him now, so they're not going to perhaps, maybe they're looking for negative things about him. But nobody's come out in his defence. He's apparently got a 94% disapproval rating. And it's not just the Nancy Guthrie case. Apparently, crime is rife. He's being blamed for a lot of it. I don't know, that he's not dealing with things properly. I still always get this impression about him that he doesn't like all the attention because, God, I just feel with this guy, he likes to go under the radar, doesn't he? Just likes being the sheriff, the big I am, under the radar. God knows what things are going on in his department. And then suddenly this case comes up, this massive case, and he's under all this scrutiny, and he won't like it because he doesn't stand up to scrutiny. That's the problem. If you're doing dodgy things, you could probably get away with doing dodgy things for ages and ages. Then suddenly you're under scrutiny, and then you can't get away with it anymore. So he's been thrust into the spotlight, hasn't he? He didn't want to be in the spotlight because his department isn't being run properly, because he's got 90-odd% disapproval rating amongst his own deputies. None of his deputies are coming out and saying, "Oh no, we love Sheriff Nanos. He's great. We're standing by him." Nobody's come out and said that. So, I think it is definitely true that he is useless because, one way or another, I think the things that are said about him are true because nobody's coming out to defend him. And I know you can't please all the people all the time, but somebody would come out and defend you. Surely, somebody. So I want to show you this. I want to show you this video that someone put together about him. Yeah, let's make sure it's showing. So yeah, somebody that I follow on X, and he'll become relevant as well. What I'm going to tell you about JLR in a minute. I've got to remove that. Put this one on. Hopefully this video will play.
When it comes to studies and going to school, man, I just fucked up the whole shit so bad I can't even imagine. When it comes to studies and going to school, man, I just fucked up the whole shit so bad I can't even imagine. When it comes to studies and going to school, man, I just fucked up the whole shit.
So he's at the gym every 5 minutes. He's driving around in it. I mean, when I saw him driving around in, now look, everyone's got a right to have whatever car they want, but I just thought that is just the typical car I would associate with Nanos. It's like, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm the big I am. And why shouldn't he have that car? I shouldn't say that in a way, but do you see what I mean? It doesn't surprise you, does it? A car like that for a man like Nanos.
So bad I can't even imagine. When it comes to studies and going to school, man, I just fucked up the whole shit so bad I can't even imagine. When it comes to studies and going to school, man, I just fucked up the whole shit so bad I can't even imagine. When it comes to studies and going to school, man, I just fucked up the whole shit so bad I can't even imagine. So bad.
So anyway, that's what somebody thinks of him. Put that little video together, and I'm normally very, very supportive of law enforcement. I think they've got a really difficult job, but I can't be supportive of Sheriff Nanos, and nobody else is got. Nobody who actually knows him is being supportive supportive. So to me, that says a lot about this sheriff. But yeah, of course, a lot of attention is on Sheriff Nanos, and it's unfortunately does take the attention away from Nancy. But maybe the FBI are quite happy with that happening, because maybe the FBI are thinking, yeah, take the attention away. We can just get on with our jobs. I hope it is. So apparently, the people that are dealing with it now is a couple of detectives from Pima County. And the FBI, there's a special dedicated team apparently dealing with it. So let's hope they're going to get to the bottom of it and get to the bottom of it quickly. Now, the other thing then that, again, this is sort of to do with the Nancy Guthrie case, but it's not really. But so for those of you out there like me who watch JLR Investigates on a regular basis, so this thing is coming out about JLR. Now, if you watch JLR regularly, and you have watched him regularly, you'll know that he had a girlfriend called Magnolia who was helping him out on... Now, I've watched JLR many times. I did stop watching him because I didn't like all these videos that he was doing about the immigration thing, and he was also down on every immigrant that committed a crime, but he never... when it was some sort of good old American boy who committed a crime, he didn't say, oh, not an immigrant. He was too focused on the immigration for me. That's just my, because I know that immigrants commit crime, and they do. But most crimes in America are committed by Americans, but then suddenly, an immigrant does it, and it's like, oh, make a big thing of it. And of course, Donald Trump made a big thing of it, and it helped towards him being elected. And that's fine. I'm sure people have problems with immigration in different places. And I understand that, but I do think it's important to keep, people like Stefan Stearns, a lot of the biggest crimes that we've followed lately, they're not immigrants, but people don't make a great big fuss of that. Oh, look, this terrible crime, and it's not an immigrant. Rex Herman, the latest serial killer, his trial will be coming up soon, won't it? He's not an immigrant. It's like, well, all Americans are immigrants in some way, shape, or form. But you know what I'm saying. So you can blame the fact that these immigrants, especially the ones that already had records, it is frustrating that they're allowed to go into America and commit crimes, but we must not lose sight of the fact that most people who commit crimes are not immigrants. So, and JLR himself, he's been a felon, he's been in prison, and he's not an immigrant. So, it's like, you've got to be careful of just blanketing everybody with the same accusations. So anyway, then I started watching him again, of course, because of Nancy Guthrie. He's been covering Nancy Guthrie big time. And, when he's been doing these long streams and everything, it's been very useful, isn't it? He's only just gone back to Florida. I think he is in Florida, back in Florida now, but he was there for a month at least, wasn't he? Very interesting streams, everything that was going on, giving us an idea of the area. Now but I did notice that Magnolia, from the last time I watched anything with JLR, which was probably about the Hawaiian girl, the Hannah, I can't remember her surname, case, where she just decided she fancied, to disappear for a while and just left everybody worried about her. I think that's the last time I'd watched JLR. And Magnolia, I'm sure she was still, they were doing things together. She was helping out on his channel, etc. Anyway, she disappeared. I did notice this time Magnolia had gone. So they were saying in the chat, I mean, I don't think JLR mentioned her actually when I think about it, but saying that she was taking a break. And Magnolia, that you can find, if you find or what you think is Magnolia's Twitter account, she hasn't posted since January. And her Twitter account is Magnolia JLR, and she describes herself as a producer for JLR Investigates, and there's a picture of JLR in the background with his baseball cap on. So, I just presume, well, yeah, she is taking a break. What it's like with true crime, it does get on top of you. You do need a break every now and again. So I hadn't really, thought that much of it. Now, suddenly on X, another guy on X that I follow is saying that an Arkansas judge granted Magnolia a 3-year no contact protection order against JLR, her ex, following serious allegations that surfaced during the Travis Decker case in Washington state. So, this is what he says. Now, I just want to say, because I don't know what's true, but there are documents. He does provide documents. But of course, documents, I suppose, can be doctored. As I say, JLR's not said anything about this, but people are starting to talk about it now. Now, I know this guy and JLR, they've got their grievances for whatever reason. I don't know. I try and avoid all this drama. But I feel like I've got to mention this because these are serious offences against a woman. Domestic violence offences, strangulation, broken nose. It's not just the shove and, or I don't know, something petty. They're big things. So this is what he says. So I'm just relating what he says because I feel I've got to say it. I hope it's not true. I hope JLR himself will come out and say it's not true. Or Magnolia maybe will come out and say, oh no, this is not true. So on December the 24th, JLR posted a photo of himself with Magnolia in Washington. By the following day, an incident had unfolded that led to a police report, an ex parte motion granted for Magnolia, and JLR being served in Florida on January the 23rd. So apparently, among the allegations in the protective order, Magnolia sought against JLR are strangulation, a broken nose, and septum that allegedly required surgery. And she claims in her filing that JLR threatened to kill her if she reported him, and this all happened on Christmas Day. According to this guy. Now, as I say, I don't know if this is true, but a lot of people are talking about it now. A lot of people talking about it. So, this is this is supposedly the police report. I have probable cause to arrest Jonathan L. Riches for violating blah blah in the second degree, harassment, threats to kill, DV, RCW, which I'm not sure what that is, interfering with the reporting of domestic violence. And this Magnolia's real name is Jamie. So I received a text message on the 26th of December from Jamie on my department issued cell phone that she cancelled her original flight and booked a flight with a different airline and boarded without issue. On the 27th of December, I received a text message from Jamie on my department issued cell phone that she was finally able to track Jonathan's location. He was traveling through North Dakota. It is not known at this time if he is driving back to Florida or to a different location. So apparently, he hasn't been arrested because he fled the state, but surely for something as serious as this, would it matter what state you're in? Now, apparently, as he makes clear here, this guy, he says people seem to have forgotten the smear campaign JLR ran against me during the Brian Laundrie search. So here's a quick reminder. I haven't looked at that. Might look back on it again. Is this just a vendetta, or is JLR? Well, it doesn't mean he's guilty. Even if it's true that Magnolia filed these charges, that is not proof of guilt, of course, because everyone's innocent till proven guilty. But of course, if you were innocent, you would want to confront those charges, wouldn't you? Would you? I don't know. I don't know. So I just wanted to talk about it because I suppose, I would like to hear JLR's version. Now he's saying here, claims that Magnolia reached out to me are inaccurate. It was her brother. I will do a live stream tomorrow. This is 5 hours ago with new information obtained, and we're also looking for information on a woman named Kathy Simmons in Georgia. So, he's determined to bring this up to. This is a video he shared of JLR.
Dictator Adolf and James Holmes.
Oh.
I love you guys.
What the hell's that, JLR? Oh my God. So he's obviously determined to dig up the dirt on JLR. Has JLR... Now, when JLR was young, he has got dirt to be dug up. But it doesn't have to be dug up because JLR's very open about going to prison and all that kind of thing. And, supposedly he's changed his world around, turned his life around. And, I always think people should be allowed to do that. But, oh, gosh, where's this come from? Is JLR maybe not such a nice person as a lot of people?
I love you guys to death, and this is what I want to do to you guys.
Oh.
Use your imagination. Hi, Jonathan Lee Riches. This message is for Dictator Adolf and James Holmes. I love you guys. I love you guys to death, and this is what I want to do to you.
Now, I would say JLR is either high or drunk there. But the thing is that's the problem with social media. You even if I don't even know what this is about. So I'd like to say, if it's some sort of joke or whatever, I don't. But it's a pretty bad joke, isn't it? But when people, I don't know how old JLR was. I mean, JLR is in his 40s. He's not, he's not a kid. Spent most of his younger years in prison, so he's not a kid. So just think sometimes these social media posts can come back to bite you. You've got to be always careful or video. And why would you even make a video like that? I have no idea. But okay, but I think that's enough of that particular video. So I'm not here to do a hatchet job on JLR. I would just like to know what is the truth, because to me, I'm thinking Magnolia. No, these are just other ones. Yeah, this guy's definitely got it in for JLR one way or another. And I suppose if you look hard enough for bad things about people, you can always find them. But domestic violence is a really bad thing, isn't it? You can't get much worse than that. So if it's true, so all I want to say is, if it is true that JLR did all those things to Magnolia, and apparently he's also saying they stole her phone, he took her phone. Who is controlling Magnolia's account? Because as I say, I'm going to show you actually Magnolia's, the trouble with social media accounts is you don't know, do you, if it's really them posting? So when I saw this on this guy's Twitter, I went straight to Magnolia's account because I did think it was strange that she'd disappeared. Anyway, so this is Magnolia's account. That's JLR in the background. Let's put it up. That's JLR in the background, isn't it? With his baseball cap on. Magnolia JLR, investigative journalist, producer at JLR Investigates. Is that really Magnolia's account? She hasn't posted since January the 13th, as I say, if it is her. They're all reposts. Or most of them are. And on Christmas Day, when so on December the 25th, this account, whether it's Magnolia or not, I have no idea, posted Merry Christmas, I miss you all, and posted some photos. Was this really Magnolia? So supposedly all this happened, if it happened on Christmas Day in Washington State. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know what the real truth is behind it all. Certainly cold wherever she was. There she is in looks like a ski outfit. This was a public post that was put on the 25th of December. What is the truth? What is the truth? Has something terrible happened? Is JLR a domestic abuser? I don't know, but there are documents to substantiate it, police documents. So all I'm saying is, if it's not true, I think it might be a good idea for JLR, does he not want to talk about it? Maybe because it just gives more profile, adds more profile. But I don't think this guy's given up. And if it's true that it's Magnolia's brother that's giving this information, it's only going to get worse, isn't it? So, domestic abuse is not acceptable in any situation. So, be interesting to see what happens there. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know quite a few of you follow JLR, and I follow. I'm still following. I haven't unfollowed him yet. I'm waiting to see what comes out of it all. Is it true or not? When I find out, if I found out that it was true, then obviously I would definitely unfollow him, and can't be following people who strangle women or break their nose. Is it true? I just don't know. Have any of you heard anything about it? What do you think? Maybe I know there'll be some people that will, but the thing is, if you're looking at police documents and this guy says he's done, freedom of information thing, these are all things that JLR does all the time, so the thing is, JLR is always, investigate. That's it. JLR investigates. So now he's being investigated. How will it turn out? How will it turn out? Now, at the end of the day, JLR, he knows about suing people. He's sued many, many people. So, including his mum, of course. He sued his own mother for not bringing him up right. So, I'm sure JLR will sue these people if it's not true, and he should do. But we'll see. We'll find out. So anyway, I know it's all detracting away from the Nancy Guthrie case. Our main concern is, where is Nancy? Are we ever going to get answers in this case? Listen, thank you for watching. I'm going. It's going to be a nice day today. I'm hoping to get a little bit of sun. I hope so. I feel like I haven't seen the sun for such a long time. Even I want to see the sun now. any news that I hear about Nancy, I will let you know. And yeah, take care. Enjoy your Friday, whether it's evening, afternoon, or whatever. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Please don't forget, leave your DNA on the like button and put your fingerprint on the subscribe button. Thank you so much. Till I see you again, may your God go with you. Bye.